Shalom, Shalom, Israel. Shalom, Shalom. Welcome to another episode of Israel and Asia. Welcome to another episode of Israel and Asia. Today we're going to do an edification checklist for some of our brethren out in Southeast Asia. We will be showing photos of those that are keeping the commandments, showing that people are waking up in Southeast Asia, specifically Philippines, but we're going to edify all Southeast Asia, those that are in the diaspora of Southeast Asia. This is for you guys to wake up and start learning how to keep the commandments and seeing that you have brethren throughout the diaspora of Southeast Asia. First, I would like to give a shout out to our people in Mizoram, India. I recently took a trip to India and I've seen these guys all over the place, not realizing that I did a presentation about these people about a year ago, comparing them to the Philippines due to the traditions that they have and they had that are very comparable and compatible to those that are in the Philippines. The tinkling is a tradition that the Philippines take very much pride in. It's a tradition that you only find in the Philippines. However, just a coincidence that you find this same tradition in this land, in this part of India. In addition, you find these people, and if you look them up, Google them, the Muzos, these guys are claiming and have been claiming for the last couple of years that they are from the tribe of Manasseh. Now, this is a far-fetched, these days people that are not in the truth, they are in the truth. How can you tell? Well, first the Spirit gonna bear witness, and this is what this presentation is about. It's about edification. We're gonna do a checklist of scriptures to show you how do you know if someone is waking up and they are actually Israel. Not all people in the Philippines are Israel. Not all people in India are Israel. Not all Black African Americans are Israel. Not all Native. They all not Israel. But we're gonna edify the individuals that are Israel first. These people from Mizoram, India, did they go through captivity? On this page, I'm not going to read it. You can go back to one of my low videos. They did go through slavery. The British did go to this land and capture slaves and took them into other parts of the country. I will show you a presentation later on showing you when they were taking people from India into the Philippines. So their ancestors did go into slavery. Just want to let you know. However, I met these individuals and they do believe they are Manasseh. Now, for you guys from Mizoram, knowing that I met you guys to edify you guys, the way to now, if you do know you're Manasseh, do not follow the Jewish traditions. Now you have to go back to the law, statutes, commandments, keeping the commandments, the Sabbath days, wearing your fringes, ladies wearing your dress, men wearing your beard. This is for you guys to come back to the commandments, the true commandments of God. If you are Mizoram, that's how you need to follow. There are a lot of brothers and sisters out there that are waiting for you to come back to the commandments, and there are a lot of other brothers that are keeping the commandments. If you want to learn how to keep the commandments, keep watching this video. All right? If you want to learn how to keep the commandments, keep watching this video. So, checklist. Let's hit it. So, Deuteronomy 28. For those that are in North America and South America, we use Deuteronomy 28. The scoffers say, oh, Deuteronomy 28, we all didn't go to sleep. Okay, those are for the scoffers. However, those that are woke, that are understanding, that have an ear to hear, you are hearing these scriptures. Deuteronomy 28:48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. Like they sent the British against us and the Europeans against us. They sent the British against who? The Indians that we just mentioned. They sent the Spaniards against who? The Filipinos that we just mentioned. They sent the enemies against us in hunger and in thirst, in nakedness, in wanting of all things. And thou shalt put a yoke of iron around your neck. 9 times 10, if they put you on a boat, they put a yoke of iron around your neck. A lot of Filipinos were sent into slavery on boats. However, in addition, they would put yokes around their neck when they were tortured constantly within the land of the Philippines during the American and Filipino War. Check 1. That prophecy was fulfilled. Back to Deuteronomy 28 again. If you say, a lot of scoffers will say this, and we got to check this out. Scoffers will say, all nations went into captivity. All nations went into captivity. Well, that's a lie, because we know all nations did not go in captivity. Ammon did not go into captivity. That is in the scriptures. A white man didn't go into captivity. The Edomites did not go into captivity. In It says in Ezekiel 25:7-11, it says Israel will go out to the countries of Moab and the cities and the lands of the east and of Ammon. They said these people will go be scattered to all four corners of the earth. But they would say all people went to captivity. Well, if all people went to captivity, who were those people? Well, people did go into captivity in Asia. People did go into captivity in India. People did go into captivity in Africa. Who were they? They were all Israelites, fulfilling the prophecies. The curse followed them to every single land on earth. Every single land on earth. So Deuteronomy 28:68 had to be fulfilled. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way where I speak unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondman and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Here's a book from Makata. It's just an old book I use as another presentation. I'm not reusing any new material except for the photos that I'm going to use later. Thousands of Japanese were brought and sold and shipped into Macau, in China, and into the Philippines. Okay, now check this out. It says thousands of Japanese. Were they Japanese or were they Israelites? Were they Japanese or were they Israelites? I have books to prove. I'm just at one page, multiple books to prove that those were not Japanese. Those were Israelites in Japan. Just like they say, oh, those are Africans being sold by our Africans. Were they African or were they Israelites? Wake up. There's a lot of people saying, I believe all people went to all four corners of the earth. Until you start edifying them like we're doing right now, you're lying and you don't believe yet. You only believe they're in certain parts of America or so forth. You're saying that you believe and you believe so forth. You edify. You have much more knowledge than me. I am a babe in this, and I can find this information. So, Deuteronomy 28 again. It's going to be check part 3. The Treaty of Paris in 1898, when the treaty was signed by Spain to transfer the territories over to the United States. In the Spanish-American War, the Spanish relinquished all claims and sovereignty over of the titles to rule. So they brought Cuba, they brought Puerto Rico, they brought Guam, and they brought Philippines. Oh, just a coincidence that we think Manasseh is in Cuba, Ephraim is in Puerto Rico. However, we don't claim we don't see Philippines on this chart. We don't see Philippines. Guam. Yeah, now we still working on India. We know some people that, but however, what happened? They brought them. They brought those countries with the people inheritance that's in that land. Deuteronomy 28:34. And they will become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword. Now I already talked about they will buy them and no one should buy it, and they will be sold, right? Proverb and byword. Philippines is named after what? King Philip. Just like African American, those are names of Italians. King Philip named the Philippines. So you go around talking to, oh, that's a Filipino. That's okay. Yes, sure. He's from that land. But the Philippines is just a person that's living in land that was named after King Philip. That's a byword. That's all it is. Check 4. Check. Isaiah 11:11. Now we talked about India earlier, right? We talked about India, and it's right here in the Bengal location. That's where that area is in Mizoram. Mizoram was that area, and check this out. That route is going into where? Southeast Asia. That route is going to Southeast Asia. A lot of people that was in India, a lot of Israelites that were in India, Malabar and Kojan and Gold, were actually sold right back into Africa. So a lot of the Israelites that were in Asia and so forth were sold right into Africa. In fact, if you study if you study Gandhi, a lot of the trips that he was taking, he was going to Africa because a lot of the coolies were being sent into Africa, and he was protesting because they were being tortured in Africa. The British were sending them to Africa and Europe. Look it up. Watch the movie. So Isaiah 11:11. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again a second time to recover the remnant from all four corners of the earth of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, from Paphros, from Cush, from Elam, that's India, and from Shinar, and from Haman, Africa, and from the islands of the sea. Not just the American islands, but the Southeast Asian islands, because the slave trade did happen there. And everybody knows it. But guess what? Even though you say you know it and you believe it, until you're edifying these individuals, you're lying. You do not believe it. You're not edifying them. Where's your videos? That's what you would say. Where's your material? Where's your videos? Put it out there if you believe it then. You got the books. I know you do. Here's some more material. Now, this material just confirmed there were descendants in the Philippines and in Japan well before some of the slave trades were happening. Now, the funny part is, I do know the history and I read it already. Many of these people were sold into Mexico. But it's confirming that the people, the tribe of Gad, the tribe of half of Manasseh, and I think it was, where you at? I don't have it on this page, I don't think. But many of the Israelites that was building King Solomon's temple were traveling into the Philippines to get the gold and material, and the Philippines had plenty of gold. So they stayed in that land, they inhabited the land. Some people came back, some people stayed, but many of those individuals stayed in these lands as Israelites from the northern tribe. It's in books. So just edifying the fact that these guys went over there, but many of these individuals, when of course the Portuguese came over, they realized they were Israelites, just like they had to meet the curses. And if they were in India or Africa or China, those individuals got sold somewhere else. They swapped all of us across the globe. If we were in one land, they just displaced us. That was the strategy they used on each and every last one of us. They displaced us from land to land. If we was in China, if we was in Korea, they displaced us to Japan. If we was in Japan, they displaced us to the Philippines. If we was in China, they displaced the Philippines. If we was in Philippines, they displaced us to Mexico. If they was in India, they went back to Africa. You see how it works? It's out there. The books are there. I don't have my favorite book on here, but it's out there. Until you edify them and show that these things are happening, you don't believe. From the lands of Sinim. Oh, one of my favorite scriptures. Well, Isaiah 49. Now, if you read from Isaiah 49:1, it says, "O owls," and called them Israel. So they called the Israel people, Israel and the owls. Now, back in the day, the Gentile was in the owls. But then when it goes to Isaiah 49:12, it says, "Behold, shall come from afar. Lo, these from the north and from the west, and these from the island of Sinim." Sinim is modern day China. This is a book talking about the Jews being in China, being in Kaifeng. And they should go. So they say they're going to go from the land of Sinim to the Isles, Southeast Asia. Now, when I mentioned earlier, I didn't quote the scripture, but I'm quoted here right now. I said, oh, people say, well, Chinese were sold into slavery. Japanese were sold into slavery. Were they really? Well, Jeremiah 48:11. Moab hath been eased from his youth, and he hath settled on his lee, and have not been emptied from vessel to vessel. From what vessels? From ship to ship. Neither has he gone into what? Captivity. So when this book says, oh, they sold Chinese people into the Philippines or Japanese people into these other countries, nah, those were Israelites. They might have looked a lot like them. It says, I would send them a confusion of faces, right? He said in Nehemiah 8:1-8, it says, God will scatter us for our transgressions to all around. He says, Isaiah 16:14, a feeble remnant around Moab. A feeble remnant will remain around Moab. There you go. It will be with Moab. So you these captivities that went into other countries, those were Israelites. But we're not edifying them. But I am. So for the edification, here goes our photos. There we go. Our brothers are out there. Guess what? They waking up. Oh, those are fringes. They're keeping the commandments. Romans 8:16. The Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. We are the Israelites. Wearing our fringes, keeping the commandments, coming back to the laws. So for the men, wear your fringes. Women, wear your fringes with the border of blue. First John 2:3. And hereby we do know that we know him if we what? Keep his commandments. We keep his commandments. We wear our fringes. We keep our beards. We grow our beards as men. Check. Luke 14:22. In the service of the Lord, it is done as thou hast commanded, and ye, there is room. And the Lord said unto his servants, go out into the highways and the hedges and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. Wow. There are Filipinos out in the streets with fringes on, women with their hair covers, preaching the gospel to return back to the law. How is this happening? There's a remnant out there, and they're actually waking up. But yet, guess what they're doing? They're waking up with even very limited amount of edification. Limited. They're just hearing the truth from North America about the Israelites over there, but for some reason they're keeping the commandments too now. Kind of odd, isn't it? No, they're Israelites over there too. They know their history, or they just waking up naturally because they are compelled. My people will hear my voice. Check. Thou shalt find that Israel by name have kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. The heathen won't keep the commandments. The heathen ain't gonna try to be wearing our own fringes and go through persecution because they like, where are you wearing those things for? But the Israelites will, because their spirit will bear witness. Until you edify these brothers, you don't believe they're Israelites. You're still speculating. But it's okay. You'll catch up. John 10:27-28. And my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give unto them eternal life, and they shall not perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hands. More Israelites in the Philippines keeping the commandments, keeping the feast days, keeping the Sabbath, the new moons. They are following the commandments. And guess what? It's very little edification out there for these guys. No one's talking about them. No one's edifying them. I don't hear the big classes on YouTube. Where are you at? You said, oh no, yeah, until you teach a course explaining it with your history books that I know you have, you don't believe they are really Israelites. But I do, because it's obvious. We just did do a whole checklist. This doesn't happen unless they're Israelites there in a large amount of them. Well, shalom, and thank you for listening to this presentation. Keep fighting. Wake up to Southeast Asia, and we're going to unite with Ephraim, Manasseh, all 12 tribes come together. All camps sooner or later, one day, will come together as we get over certain differences. But all praises to the Most High. Shalom.